got a phone call a few days ago, and I left a message on my answering machine in my office, and very interesting call, and I'm going to just kind of share that with you a little bit. It was a young lady, and she introduced herself. She goes, "I don't go to your parish, but my fiance and I, we just got engaged, and we want to get married." And she said, she was very sincere, and she goes, "But we don't want to get married at St. Pat's." All right, so that's fine. It happens, people want one of the priests to do their marriage at another church. And she goes, and we also don't want to get married in a church. And she goes, "We want you to do the wedding." And I'm like, "Oh, that's different." And she goes, "No, I don't think you guys are allowed to do that but she goes, "I just really needed to check." And I'm like, well, she's correct. We're not allowed to do that. We all know this, that as Catholics, we're bound to follow the marriage laws of the church. And so that means we have to get married in a church, right? Otherwise, it's invalid. It's still a legal marriage because you got the license from the state, but it isn't sacramental, right? That's why it's so important to do that in a church. But put that aside for a second. And my first reaction was, oh my goodness, this is not a nice thing that this person's asking me to do. And so my knee-jerk reaction was like judgment. Boy, she's just wrong. That was just interior, a moment. And I wrote down her name and phone number, but my next reaction as I sat there for a second thinking about it, because she wanted me to officiate at the wedding in a hotel. So, that's where the reception was and it was going to be. But then I thought, wait a minute. She doesn't want to get married in the church, but she wants a priest to be there. Right? So there's something going on, isn't there? There's some opportunity here for me and for that couple. And my thought is, if I can just get them to have a conversation with me, maybe that, whatever that desire is, to have a priest there, even though they don't want to get married in the church, maybe we can open that up a little bit and figure out, how can we make this work? How can we have a conversation of sufficient depth to perhaps bring them to a place where they actually do want to get married here at the altar with the Eucharist, to receive the graces that we all know we need in order to live fulfilling married lives, huh? So I think this is what I'm going to do. And that my approach again will be, I don't know exactly what I'm going to say yet, but first I'm going to do it right away, because we all know that if we put things off like this, they lose their immediacy, they lose their intensity, they lose their importance. Other things come up, and maybe we forget. But the Spirit is inspiring to us to do it in the moment, and then to do it this way. That my first thing with her isn't to say, "I can't believe you are so silly as to expect me to do this for you in a hotel." Now, she already said, "I don't think you're allowed to do it, but, what is that but?" And so what is the approach? Is it immediate judgment on her behavior or actions, or her whatever this desire is to get married, obviously, but to do it with a priest, huh? Make no judgment, although that was my initial reaction. But rather, do what the Lord does always. He has a conversation. He develops a relationship. He calls people to follow him, and he walks with them, and he loves them. And it's when he's got that relationship established that he's able to reach that deeper place of hunger, that deeper desire of their hearts, that when opened up, reveals something far greater than even they expected or knew about. So maybe to get them to come to the office or meet them someplace for a cup of coffee and say, hey, let's talk about this. But not to say, first of all, what you asked me to do was ridiculous. How dare you? Because that shuts the door. But rather to say, who are you? Let's talk about it. Where are you from? Where'd you meet? Why did you fall in love with each other? What's your dream about your wedding? And then, perhaps, when you've got that relationship and you've developed a rapport, what do you say? Maybe figure out, well, why don't you want to get married, church? There's always a reason, brothers and sisters. Why do people leave the church? Why do people no longer feel a need to have a sacrament? And making no judgment. There's always a story. People have been hurt by the church. They're angry at something that happened to them. Maybe they didn't have it modeled in a joyful way for them growing up. Maybe there's just been such animosity from other members of the family, it's just easier to do it this way. And maybe the only reason why they want to have a priest there is because that's the only reason mom and dad are going to pay for it. Whatever the reason, there's always a reason. What is it? And you got to find it out. In order to find it out, you got to have a relationship with people. You've got to love them. It's only, to paraphrase St. Vincent de Paul, it is only by your love, that the poor and the hungry will forgive you for the bread that you bring them. It's only by your love that you will be able to reach into that deep desire of their heart and to unfold it so that the Lord might look at it and love it and heal it. To heal it is the opportunity that can't be wasted. It has to be done now. We've all got stories. We've all got things in our life that we carry with us that weigh us down, that might mask the deeper hungers that we have, or might cover over those desires that when brought into the light of the Lord's love become that thing by which we live our life. But somebody's got to be there to help us. And what did Paul say? He says, from now on, time is running out. In other words, do it now. What the Spirit of the Lord is prompting you, is moving you, is motivating you, listen to the Spirit, because if we stop listening to it, the Spirit no longer can be heard by us. We blow off Jesus enough, we lose the ability to sense His movement and presence and voice in our life. Do it now. And it says, those having wives, acting as not having them, weeping, not weeping, rejoicing, not rejoicing, buying, not owning, using, not using it fully. In other words, wives, having wives, husbands, spouses, families, your relationships, weeping and rejoicing, your emotional life and your psychology, how you think and how you feel, and then buying, owning, using, your profession, your activities, your possessions. In other words, every thought and word and action of yours is the place where the Holy Spirit is moving to bring you to healing, so that in experiencing the fullness of the Lord's mercy and love in that moment of grace, you might then be able to focus that healing, merciful experience of your own into the lives of the people that the Lord puts in front of you. In other words, by experiencing the Lord in your life and unlocking the deepest desires of your hearts, now you have the ability to reach into the lives of other people through all these things, all that you possess. Enter into that relationship with the love of Christ, which you've experienced, which now you are focusing into the lives of other people, and then to help them unlock the desire. What are you looking for? Why do you want a priest at your mass at your hotel? What happened in your life to bring that about? What about that thing in your marriage? What about that thing with work or your kids or this or that? Do it now. Do it with love. It's like a parent who hears their child cry in the middle of the night. What do? Roll over and go back to sleep? No, you jump up and you run to them because you love them and they need you. And what are you going to bring them? Anger because they cry out because of a bad dream, or to focus that love and mercy that you experienced in your own vocation, through your own healing, and you bring it to them and you kiss them and you hold them and you cry with them and you love them and you kiss them and make it all better. Brothers and sisters, this is the Christian life. Do it now. The disciples, they left everything and they followed him because he called them. He calls you and me. And we, in a sense, leave everything. In other words, our relationships, our emotions, our possessions, our professions, everything we are, we leave it with him. And he takes it, everything we are, and he heals it, and he focuses it, he transforms it into that by which you then bring that healing, merciful love, that relationship of the Lord Jesus Christ into the lives of the people that the Lord puts in front of us so that they can experience what you and I have experienced. So what am I going to do? I'm going to call that girl. What am I going to say? Oh, I can't believe you expected me to do this for you. How dare you? Or rather, hey, what's your name? What do you want? What are you looking for? It's like the disciples. Jesus, where do you live? What does he say? Come and see. Come and see. So brothers and sisters, whatever it is, put it up here on the altar and let Jesus heal it. Take that gift that you receive in the Eucharist in yourself. And then when you get out there, immediately, with no delay, without judgment, but with mercy and love, you do it for somebody else. So, let's get to work.